ways to get that energy from holistic sources. So I'll start with you, Dawn, since you were there for the conversation. And just, is there anything else? I mean, we talk nature, 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 but is there anything else you can think of that would pull this sort of thing forward for all of humanity, but especially the awakening consciousness?
Well, it was funny because we really didn't get time to get into it too far as well. Something you mentioned that tied into the dopamine sensation that brings this better energy and these sensations is the serotonin. And I mentioned last night when, like, once I had taken myself off of all of the terrible things I was doing to myself and the pharmaceuticals, that's when my awakening started and everything started to function properly. The thing about the medication that I last took myself off of is it was a serotonin producing medicine, right? The diagnosis was that apparently I had borderline personality disorder and they thought I had a serotonin deficiency. But every time, like I said last night, every time I missed the thing, it felt like I was having a stroke. But when you actually start to develop these abilities to produce your own dopamine and your own serotonin, like we were talking about, through like the longer enjoyments, like for me, it's these shows and the things I've been doing in my own personal life are giving me the hits that the tap games or harder drugs or the reels on social media, like all of these things are momentarily stimulating and they give you that moment of joy, but they're all hollow, right? When you can actually develop that sense of authentic self and find ways to stimulate yourself through your own achievements, you don't need to rely on the outside sources as much, I guess, is the main thing I start off trying to hit home.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel you on that. I as well was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and bipolar. But those just come into being spiritual. Borderline personality disorder, what's that mean? You're extra sensitive to other people. You're extra sensitive to other people's emotions and you let their emotions affect you, and that you can see truth in other people. But then when you're coming at that from an unhealed place, it can do these things. But like when you heal, you still can see other people's emotions. So you can see where the borderline personality disorder is actually like part of the empathic game. It's part of being empathic. And then it becomes a problem when it gets twisted. But ultimately, it's a superpower, just like being bipolar. You realize that's being a projector, getting waves of emotion and energy where you can just boom, do things like a superhero, but then bam, you're out for like a week. That like these again falls into something that's actually spiritual. So I want to take it to you, Kirsten, because you are a projector as well. Like, how do you feel these things? How do you keep yourself holistically organized and energized?
Well, it was quite a process. And the thing that I found first was movement. The yoga asana practice and dancing, because that really moves the energy through. I find that, a lot of times, because I get these big waves of energy too, and especially when I'm around other people, and it's just like, it's really hard to process. But if you can move and, do it with intention, like, I get up in the morning and I say, wow, I feel really wonky. I think I'll dance, get those shoulders moving, you get a little shimmy going on, and it really moves the energy through. The other thing that I've discovered recently, of course, is Kriya Yoga, which is mostly breath work and some movement. And that is amazing. I mean, I highly recommend that to anyone. And I know Stephen's talked about it a lot too. But it's amazing. And so I find now if I do that in the morning, my energy body is just really beautiful. And of course, the other thing that I do is just nature. And it sounds like you talked about that last night. I live out in the middle of nowhere, and every day that I can, every day that it's not pouring down rain or snowing or something, my bare feet are on the ground. And that is another huge thing. Just putting your bare feet on the ground it will immediately make you feel better. So those are my two go-tos.
Beautiful, beautiful. And David, let's take it to you. What's your way of naturally getting that God energy, those endorphins that we require?
Yeah, well, so I mean, movement is important for me. For me, that's bodybuilding. So I'm at the gym 5 times a week, and that's just how I do it. And don't ask me to do cardio or or whatever, right? Like I found what works for me, and I love it. And I mean, love hate maybe, but but that kind of keeps me going, and it's definitely like you get a nice dopamine feeling, like when you spend an hour or so at the gym or whatever, it's definitely like a feeling of accomplishment because I mean, for me, anyway, every time I get there, it's like, oh man, I've got to do this again, and and then before I know it, I'm in pain, but it's over, and I've accomplished it, and now I can go do the rest of my day and feel like I've already done something good for myself that day. I do also try to incorporate like meditation practice. I wish I could say that I was diligent enough to have like a time and place that I do it every day, but it's definitely not that rigid for me anymore. It's pretty much whenever I can find time throughout the day to just kind of get alone, get quiet. I mean, I'm not always super formal about it. Sometimes I'm just literally just sitting alone in a room with my thoughts and maybe like a little relaxing music in the background or something, and that's it. And maybe doing like some breathing exercises. I'm no Kriya expert, but I can do 5-5-5 easily enough, and that's usually pretty stimulating. And yeah, and another thing is all the time, pretty much all the time in my house, I'm a big believer in sound therapy. So almost all the time in any room you go in my house, there is like some kind of relaxing healing frequency tone playing, whether it's like 963 hertz or 1111 hertz or whatever happens to be on at the moment. Sometimes I just let the algorithm decide, and it does a pretty good job. And having that environment around me all the time, I mean, it really does help. It helps to uplift my mood. I've got this one tone. It's like 1111 hertz. I've had it in my playlist for years, and the first time I heard it, I was like, wow, I bet this is what it sounds like where I come from. And so yeah, every time I play it now, I'm just like, I'm reminded of home again. And another thing that's important for me is just at the end of every week, most weeks, I take time to just chill with my wife, my family, relax, unwind, unravel, process everything that's been going on in the week. I don't. Sometimes I'm up all night Friday, or at least until the wee hours of the morning. Some people may not recommend that for circadian rhythm or whatever, but I don't care. I don't need a circadian rhythm. Okay, like seriously. My personal opinion is, if what you're doing is working for you, do it. But yeah, that kind of sums up, I guess, how I stay grounded and also energized and just there is one other thing I need to add. I have to talk about this. I think I mentioned this in Dawn's show last week, but there's this lady who has been teaching me just, I guess, the ways of the Ascended Masters for like the past year. And I attend her session like every week, every Friday morning, and it's always like she does this one part where it's like an alignment, and she does like this meditation visualization that was taught to her by the Ascended Masters, and we go through it, and it definitely like it helps to keep you centered and aligned. And then she'll teach some kind of really valuable, rare, esoteric wisdom and it definitely helps me to not only stay where I need to be, but I have grown so much being under the radiation of her teaching for the past year.
Beautiful. Yes. And I like what you said about the music, because I think it's not even just the tone, because when we hear it, it brings us to that place, but it matches the frequencies of where we're from. And it pulls us into that harmonious state, like especially us as star seeds. It's why this world's extra painful for us, because we don't like we energetically don't fit. Like we might be in human bodies and the human bodies here, but our souls and our energy streams, they're from higher and we require higher. And it's why we get so many problems. So absolutely with the sound healing. And then I want to take it to Kyla. Thank you for being here. This is Dawn's beautiful wife. She's a part of the group and we're happy to have you here. And one day maybe we'll have you, Sarah, join us in the group for our live discussions. But Kyla, what are some of the ways that you do that work for you to stay not just grounded, but like get that energy bursts that get the endorphins to release naturally?
I think a lot of it, just like with my background, there was a lot of mental emotional abuse, and so I'm still healing and still working through some stuff. And so I know I don't need anybody's approval, but I'm still working on weaning myself off of feedback. And I don't need praise, but it makes a huge difference to me if I know that I'm making a difference. Just as an example, like I've been really, really exhausted, and I know there's a lot of wonky energy stuff going on, but it's also too, I keep forgetting, honestly. I was in a collision back in November, and my body is still healing. Like it's actually a wonder that I'm here having the conversation that I'm having right now, because it really was a near miss. And just a lot of stuff happened at that time, and I really downplayed it. And so it's catching up to me now. But the last few weeks I've gotten fired up because Dawn has told me how important it is about my contribution in the kitchen on my days off, because he can work his way around the kitchen for like main courses and anything, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like he's amazing, but as far as the baking part of things goes, he doesn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And so initially I started baking. It was to save money, but it was also know what ingredients are going in. They're not always the healthiest of ingredients, but at least we can pronounce them. We know what it is. And so I've been making him muffins for his lunch. And even that, like pricing them out, they're up to like $1.25 each. And it's like, well, why would we pay that if I can make it for pennies? Yeah, I'm exhausted, but that means I don't have to go to the grocery store. And so I came from it from there, but as time goes on, he gets excited like he gets excited about lunch muffins and breakfast muffins, and he's got like names for. And then it's evolved. Like I made him pancakes this morning, and we had a deal. Like he's like, oh, I forgot to take bacon out. And he's like, there's like maybe 3 pieces. So I'm like, all right, well, deal. If you cook up the 1.5 pieces of bacon for me and give me a coffee, I will go out and make you pancakes. And so it was an instant hit, like an instant dopamine hit, that, you know, like I just go out to the kitchen and I make him something and he's just one happy man.
Fair. The reason I don't bake is I cook by taste, and you can't do that in baking.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm a terrible baker for the same reason because I hate recipes and it's exhausting. And it sounds like Kyla, you might be a projector, although I've been guilty of accusing spiritual people of being projectors before, just because of that natural sense. But needing that, because that's a projector thing, and Kirsten can vouch for that. It's actually part of our thing.
Yeah.
And like I'm as a Sagittarius stellenium, meaning I don't want Sagittariuses don't want anything from no one, right? But projectors need praise. They need to be appreciated. They need that feedback loop because that's how we get energy. We don't have natural energy. The feedback loop, and it can come in questions. So if people just ask us questions, bam, the energy is there to answer it. And so him requesting muffins, him giving you that feedback, that would, especially that can give anybody dopamine and serotonin, and just baking itself and cooking can be therapeutic. But if it turns out you're a projector, that would be an extra reason why getting that feedback loop would provide you with the energy you need to continue forward, because getting that energy to move forward is required for anybody. It's required for everybody. Everybody wants that. And finding places, that's why
Oh, she's got stuck.
Oh,
Oh, we lost her.
Yeah, and just remember, she was at Finding Places. I had to do this a couple of times last night. She kept losing connection. I tried to remember the last word that she's on. Is like, okay, she was at Finding Places, and then, but
yes, I'm back. And I heard, finding places where we can get this energy. So Dawn and I yesterday were talking.
Oh, no. Well, what were you talking about yesterday, Don? Maybe you should go on.
I wrote a page in my notebook. It was an
The
entire
Nintendo.
thing. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm telling my daughter to shut off the Nintendo. We don't have enough juice.
Yeah.
But yeah, podcasts being a source of that juice that we can get for energy. And then Kirsten, you have yourself a new podcast, and one of our viewers here, Great Graceful Luminosity, asked where to find you. I said at Metaphysical Fat. Is that correct?
Metaphysical Fat podcast, or maybe the
Perfect.
Metaphysical Fat podcast, but
Awesome.
Metaphysical Fat should get there. Is PHAT.
Yes, that's how I put it. So hopefully
Yeah.
that's it. I sent them in the right place. But let us know, because you're really new to this, right? You guys have been doing it now maybe a month. And tell us how that's is
Well-
that you feeling the changing and the growing and the energy that comes with a podcast?
Well, it's been amazing because we've really gotten a better response than we expected to. But, Diana, you talk about being a projector. I have wanted to do a podcast for probably, I don't know, 6, 7 years, and I could never get it together. And then I met Sam, and we started having this back and forth. I was like, it sounds like we're doing a podcast, because she'd send me these long messages, and I'd send her these long messages. And I said, let's do a podcast. And at first she was like, I don't know, but I needed her energy to kind of help me manifest that. And it just helped right away. And now, it is really energizing. Every time I have a discussion, like you said, Dawn, whenever we have the podcast afterwards, it's just like, oh, I just feel awesome. And part of it is, I think when people of a vibe get together, they activate one another even more. But there's also that energy that comes from having that beautiful back and forth with people. And we have just been so pleased and so amazed at the response we've got and the conversations we've been able to have with people. It's just been, it's amazing. And it is a huge dopamine fix, the actual doing of it is just a huge dopamine fix. It's wonderful. And we're gonna have Dawn and Kyla on. We're talking tomorrow, and we'll post it on next Friday. So yay!
That's beautiful. Do you guys have a topic picked?
We're pretty
No.
much just gonna roll.
Well, maybe you guys. We were gonna leave it to them. We were like, we'll let you guys.
our
Yeah.
awakening is literally, I don't even like the twin flames analogy, but her and I play off of each
We
other so
dance.
well. Yeah, it's more of a dance than a twin flame aspect thing because we are completely different people, right? But we complement each other so well. It's just worked. And she's one of the reasons I even woke up because she pushed me into the whole pod, listen to this thing. But like, we were basically just going to roll with the last couple of years, but a little bit of the backstory of like, she found a book from
2013.
2013,
No, it's 2011. 2011.
2011 that is actually relevant to what we're now talking about today. Like it,
Like that I wrote. Like it was a journal that I wrote. I had actually started awakening, and then
shut
all
off.
hell broke loose, to put it mildly.
Yes.
That's
funny
what
because
happens. when you start awakening. All hell breaks loose. That's the first thing.
it was so funny though that she had forgot about this, but she knew exactly what I needed when it started happening to me because she had already done it, but she had forgotten all about it. Like she'd already had the experience and knew what I needed. So she's like, "Oh, just do this. Oh, just watch this. Here, listen to this." And I'm like, "Wow, you're really good at this." She's like, "Yeah, I don't know why." And then she finds this journal from
I guess I
2011.
already did it.
And it's like, "Oh, this is just a loop. Like she's just helping me through the loop this time."
Yeah, I've had that with my own stuff where I'll watch back old videos or read old journals and it will be so wise, but I would have forgotten all about it. And then as we loop back through cycles, old me already had it figured out, but I forgot. I forgot all about it. And I had that 2012 energy awakening and it was amping up before 2012, but once 2012 came, there was no more forgiveness. There was no more like easy street. It doesn't mean I was instantly awake. It just meant I was in the pressure cooker of wake up or die, basically. So you, it sounds like, went through that too in that time period. How was that for you, Kyla? Like, what was that like so early on when there wasn't as much material as there is now?
It was intense, and everything, they threw everything at me but the kitchen sink. So I was finding things, but I didn't know that I was finding things, and it was like, okay, this is going to be relevant. I'm going to file it. And so like, and like there's different examples, like with my spinning, just as an example, like I spin yarn, and like spinning wheel, spin, drop spindle, like the whole 9 yards. After, so I took a fiber arts course, and after I took the course, I was invited to join the local spinning group. And the way that they spoke, it was like, whew, it was over my head. And I just I just assumed, like my instructor would not have invited me if she didn't think that I wasn't going to get anything out of this. And so I just went and I absorbed, and I was like, none of this is making sense to me, but maybe someday it will make sense. And that happened. And there was so many things that I was on autopilot and just acquiring all of the information, like get in, get out. Like that's my motto. Like when I took a post-secondary fiber art course in and it was an Ontario college, and we know about the connections and all that stuff. But I basically got in, got out, but they wanted me to work for them, and they were trying to, and anyway, yeah. So while I was going to college, it was just after and when I say they came at me, I had left my abusive ex and came home and found out that my mom had cancer. My grandma went into the nursing home about 2 months after that. And then I had to start the family court process, which is a whole other story. And then some good stuff broke through where I was able to go back to college, and did that like as a single mom. And so there was that win, but then everything happened. I was still fighting in family court, and then my mom died, and then things just snowballed. So but in all of that though, and this comes back to the whole dopamine thing, how I was able to maintain was I took my trauma and I made it work for me. My mom knew, so when she saw me take to spinning, she knew that that was something that was going to be integral to my healing process, my recovery after like, because she knew she was dying, and she wanted to make sure that I was going to be prepared. And so when I sit down at my wheel, it's part of the like my name Spinja, the spin part of it. That's to honor my mom. And through all of that, like just the spinning part of it, it's brought a lot of people into my life. Like I love doing spinning demos. And you want to talk about dopamine hit through community service. There have been so many times where I've had my spinning wheel out in public and people have like, oh, I thought that was a lost art. No, not on my watch. Here's where you can go. But I'll wrap it up there. But that's just some of the examples. Like even, like to take your pain and make it work for you to get your dopamine hit.
Yes, that's beautiful. And I too lost my mom to cancer. So I feel you there. And it's a hard one to swallow, especially so young. You would have been too. Like that.
Oh no, we lost her again.
But something that she was trying to point out there as well, when she was doing her deep dive and all this stuff, the world kind of distracted her from it. Like she actually has the metaphysical books and stuff in our library and like stuff highlighted from 2011 with this journal that she's found. And it's almost like some weird Indiana Jones thing going on in our house because there's all these artifacts and knowledge and stuff. And it's like, oh, look, she already knew this. Oh, look, here's this book that we just heard about on a podcast yesterday. And here's this. And here's like, it's like living with somebody. She's like the archivist of the family. Like she can tell you when something happened and then likely pull out source information and material to show you like, oh, by the way, this is exactly what you were talking about and it happened on this day. Like I don't need to go to the Akashic records. I freaking married him, right? Like it's just insane.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
I like what you opened up there, that the dopamine through pain. That was such an important. I missed what a lot of what Don was saying during my jamming, but I wanted to touch on the learning by pain, because that what goes into what David was saying about the gym, and we all know Stephen loves the gym, and because there's something there about the pain. So David, do you want to walk us through the pain of the gym and how that creates endorphins for you? Because so many people refuse to go because it hurts, but after you go, there is something there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like in 2016 or so, I was in extremely poor health. Like, I wasn't just being physically active. I wasn't taking care with what I put in my body. I was pretty much just doing whatever for years, and it took a serious toll on my body, and it showed. And I got very large and very unhealthy, and it was like hard to walk up a flight of stairs and like without feeling like I was gonna pass out. And I finally one day just realized like I can't allow this to continue. I need to take some intentional action here, no matter how hard it is. Like I have to at least be strong enough to live in my own body, and so yeah, I had done various yo-yo I'd been healthy and unhealthy various different times in my life, mostly unhealthy in my childhood. And yeah, finally around 2016, I just kind of got tired of it. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go to the gym. I'm just gonna make sure I go, and I'm gonna always go. And I was pretty dedicated with it from that point all the way up to basically the pandemic. Like I was going, 5-6 days a week, and I got in really good shape. And yeah, like, so for me, even though I wasn't spiritually awakened at that point, I definitely feel like that was my root chakra, healing itself. And so it kind of was an essential part of my spiritual awakening, even though I didn't know that's what was happening yet. And I mean, just when you allow yourself to get unhealthy, you start to kind of get used to it, and so you really don't even realize how uncomfortable and all the other negative things that you're actually feeling and just choosing to ignore. Like, you really don't understand or realize it until you like sit down and really think about it. Oh, I actually don't feel very good, but I'm just so used to it, I can't tell. And but once you like go through the process of actually getting healthier and fixing some of that, oh, then you can definitely tell. It's like, wow, I can't believe how much better I feel. The problem is sometimes that takes a long time. Like, it can take a year, 2 years before you like really feel like you're getting it. So, this takes dedication that sometimes people give up on. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I mean, unfortunately for people around me, fortunately for me, like, I'm very persistent. Okay. One of my superpowers as an archangel literally is that I don't fail. Okay. When my mind or heart is set to something that I must do, it's gonna happen at some point. It might take an eternity, but it's gonna happen. So yeah, so I would say just getting healthier and like showing that love to your own body and your own self is a great way to just raise your vibration in general.
Yes, 100%. And it can be painful. Like, I myself do things like yoga and like ecstatic dance, like Kirsten was talking about, what I call just like flexi dancing, because I like to keep it moving and free, and I don't like discipline, but I do like to keep the wheels turning, whatever that might be. But one thing I've struggled to get into, though I've tried, is because I don't have discipline and I don't want it, is Kriya yoga. And Kirsten, we know Steven's huge into it, but Kirsten's recently dived into being dedicated to it. And it's very painful. As someone who used to have panic attacks, I don't like it because it brings me back. And maybe I need to work through that, but I feel like I'm not there yet. There's like a point where it's like you want to push yourself, or it's trauma. And I honestly feel like it's trauma. I could be kidding myself, but I feel like for me, it's pushing me back into panic attacks. So I can't. Not yet. I'm not going to stop trying and checking back in to see if I can push through it. But Kirsten, I want to hear your journey on it and pushing through it, because it's incredibly painful and it's so simple. It's so simple. So it looks like it should be easy, but it's torture.
Well, it's not painful for me, and I'll tell you why. Because I have had such a dedicated asana practice for so very long. And so diving back into that pain, and David, I liked what you said about being in your comfort zone when you're not healthy, because I think it's the same way for every kind of comfort zone. Like, you get to a point and you think it's your comfort zone, but actually you feel terrible. So I've been a yoga instructor for, over 2 decades now. But when I started studying yoga, and I'm the type of person, if I start studying something, I want to do the real thing. I don't want to mess around, So when I started studying yoga, and I just got kind of thrown into it, it wasn't really my plan at all. But my teacher was, talk about discipline. If you're late to class once, he would say, don't be late again. If you were late to class twice, he'd say, don't come back again. You know, that's the kind of teacher I had. And he like would push me past where I was comfortable. And I mean, he's standing next to you and you're going, I can't do it again. And he's like, do it again. And he was very kind and very soft spoken, but you did what he said or you got out of there. So I had that experience of having someone just push me through all my discomfort and pain. And I lost a lot of my, I purged a lot of my trauma through that. I mean, I would literally sometimes get out of class and sob for the rest of the day. I didn't cry in class, but I'd get out and I'd just start crying and crying and crying because he would push me past where, beyond even discomfort to the point where I was just like, you're going to kill me. But so I had that experience. And I think really, if you've had that really dedicated, and I learned discipline there. I was not disciplined before that, but it really did put me on a really steady course. It changed my whole life and made me into a different person, basically. So I was very disciplined after 3 years of that. I was very disciplined, and I've been very disciplined with my practice. And one of the things I love to do with my students is to push them a little bit harder and a little bit harder. I like to put them in plank for a minute and say, isn't this fun? And they're like, you have an odd idea of fun, but maybe I do. But so anyway, all that to say that when I started doing the Kriya, my body was really well prepared for that. And I'd already purged a lot of the trauma out of my fascia and all of that. So it's not actually that painful for me. I mean, doing Sat Kriya for 11 minutes, where you're holding your hands up like this and moving your belly in and out and chanting Sat Nam, it's difficult. My name is Truth. That's what that means. It's difficult, but all that to say, it's not as painful for me, although I have had some big fallout from doing that. I mean, I had about 3 days last week where I was completely rock bottom and could not really, where I really was having trouble interacting with the world because I was in such a bad space. And that was just more stuff coming up. So, but, diving into that pain, like you were talking about, that's what actually brings you to the other side and gets those endorphins going. And sometimes it may take 3 days of being in absolute hell before you go, oh yeah, I feel so much better now. Like the last few days after that 3 days of hell, I am just feeling great. I'm just like, woohoo, here we go. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm having so much fun. So it does, but and I think that we, as spiritual people who are really trying to do the work, that's what we're doing. We're walking through that. And every time you get into one of those deep purges, you're going a little bit deeper and getting a little bit more into your trauma and a little bit more into the things that you need, and I mean, obviously all of us not only have the traumas that we've had in this life, but all of the traumas that we have in past lives as well that we're working through now. And I think a lot of that is really coming up for the whole collective, but especially for the people who are really putting in the work and trying to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you can feel that. And I should say I do have discipline with my food. I'm pretty good with my food. I'm like no gluten and I'm very good with, except dairy byproducts, because that slips in. But I can be disciplined with my food. So we have like our areas where we can be disciplined. And you see that like there's certain people that are like, I can do this. I can go to the gym, but I can't watch what I eat. Or I can, talk a certain way or do a certain thing. But like there's different ways that we go about it. So Dawn, what is your way where you get into the pain of it in a way where it releases endorphins?
Actually, I can kind of even echo back what David was saying, because before Kyla and I even got together, I had a 5-year love affair with the gym. I was there 5 days a week, sometimes 2 a days. And it was that pump. And I didn't even understand the concept at the time, but we are energy. We are energetic beings. And the harder you push yourself in the gym, I remember going home at the time, I was taking the city bus. and like literally trembling, but it was a state of euphoria while I was shaking because I had pushed myself physically to that extent. And when you think of it on a biomolecular sense, when you get that much physical energy to the pushing yourself to the point of pain, everything in you, every molecule, every cell, every atom is activated and just bubbling like it's in a beaker because you've excited everything about yourself, right? You've gotten every bit of your body, your energy body, your fluids, everything is just rocking and running on all cylinders. Like I was a gym junkie. I actually slowed way down on my drinking and had been a full-blown alcoholic just so I was sober enough to make sure I could go to the gym at 5 a.m. every day, right? Like I put that kind of dedication and drive into hurting myself in a different way because it felt so good. So I can absolutely relate to what David was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is that anytime anybody can get those muscles to shake the quiver, you are releasing fascia trauma, and our fascia does store our trauma. And it's so that's my thing. That's what I do for endorphins is working with the fascia in any way, shape, or form. And to get it to tremble, to get it to stretch, to get it to just be strong. Because I do work on fitness, but not so much for muscles, but to just get everything moving because it's our circuit board, our systems, our thoughts. You can think clearer when you do this. Now, one of the other things I have been known to do to really, and I'm not so much doing it in this last year because of my mom. I don't know, it's some kind of trauma I can't deal with, I guess, but she just left in February and I haven't been able to fast since. I did it for one 24-hour period and my whole body rejected it. I got like headaches and all this stuff that never used to happen. When I used to fast, it would get like a high. I would get like a high from it in a good way, like in the good way we released endorphins. So I want to know your guys' thoughts because I was once banned from Twitter for talking about fasting. So you've touched something when. So what is your guys' thoughts with fasting? And we'll just go through the line. Kirsten, like, have you fasted and what do you think about it?
I have fasted. I find it difficult to fast because I'm a fitness instructor and I teach 2 classes a day, 6 days a week. So it's really hard for me to find a time when I can fast because I found that, you don't want to faint in front of your yoga class. That's not really good. But so I have trouble with fasting just because of that. So I have fasted in the past and I think it's really useful. And I wish that I could do it more because I do think it's really useful. But at this point in time, hey, Sam, at this point in time, it's really difficult for me to fast. And I would really probably have to take some time off work in order to do it because I just don't think I could do the classes that I do if I fasted. But that said, I do often take, like, say, I don't eat dinner one night or something like that. And usually my body just tells me I don't want to eat dinner tonight. So I do short fasts, but I don't do long fasts just because of my work. And I do recommend it though. I really do.
Yeah, I still intermittent fast. So I should say that I still go almost all day without eating. Like I haven't eaten yet and I don't plan on for a while because that still keeps the circuitry rolling. And I should say it was last February, not this one that just happened. But let's jump to Sam since she just got here and give her the floor. We're talking about positive ways to release dopamine and serotonin. And then now we've touched on fasting because we were bonding today discussing today about we're potentially going to team up and do the carnivore diet. And just because we both have fibromyalgia and like, even though I've improved myself a lot, it's still existing. It's still an ever-present situation and why I like working with the fascia. Because that just kind of exists within us. And the carnivore diet might be the cure, although I don't want to eat meat. I'd rather be a vegan. But what are your thoughts on fasting, Samantha?
I mean, I've done it on and off for a few years. So what I tend to find with fasting is if you've never done it, you don't really want to jump straight in and do fasting. Like you don't want to go, I've never done any fasting. I'm going to do a 5-day fast because that's absolutely ridiculous. You're just going to absolutely knack yourself up before you're even out the door. I'd start with things like bone broth. So I'd get your body acclimated to like reduce levels of food, just like really light stuff, And then I'd probably do like a day, have a day off, 2 days, have a day off, do you know, and just eat really light in between. So like soups, broths, that kind of thing. You don't, and then if you've done an extended fast, you don't want to break a fast with a big meal, because that's just asking for trouble. But it's also like listening to your body as well, like, because I think it's 72 hours, isn't it, when you peak at autophagy? Like pronounce it, I always say it wrong. Basically, when your body starts reaching the maximum that it's recycling all its cells and stuff, and that's the great thing about fasting. So if you've got any kind of like issues that you need to, or even just to give yourself a gut reset, because I don't think our guts are actually made to continually eat. It needs a break. And there's a lot of studies that have been done, especially if you've got problems like gut diabetes and all that kind of stuff, where your bacteria is all over the place. Just giving it a rest and letting your body just reset itself, because that's how you get that leaky gut and stuff, isn't it? When you've got like dysregulation in all your gut microflora. Yeah. Sorry guys, I am talking like I'm out of it. I'm not very well today. I've dragged myself in.
I was like that yesterday on Dawn's podcast. I was like tripping on my tongue for some reason.
It was really good though. I enjoyed it. You talked about loads of stuff. I loved it, by the way. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Spinger. Hi, David. You're all right. Yeah. Just going back to the dopamine thing, what I really want to touch on as well is, so I read this article, got it going back a few years ago. And this, I don't know if you've already talked about this, but things like smartphones, etc., they're giving us these really quick hits of like dopamine. So every time you get a like or whatever, it's just like your brain's like lighting up with this like a mega amount of dopamine, and we need more and more and more. And this is why you get like addicted to your smartphone, and you actually program neural pathways. And I've actually found it. I've talked to you, Kirsten, about it, haven't I? I'm trying to like detox from social media because I'm so bad with it. Hello. And what's actually happened is I felt the impulse arrive in my brain, travel down my arm to pick up my phone. And I've actually managed to catch it and I've stopped. But we're actually, and I'm not sure if that's got something to do with dopamine as well, or if it's just like the whole circuitry of your brain. But essentially what this chap was saying, like, go into nature, go camping for a couple of days, fasting again. Don't take your phone, don't listen to music, don't have any like really intense external stimuli. And what that will do is it will just naturally reset your body, and it will take you back to baseline, because obviously nature is just a natural frequency, isn't it? We resonate at the same frequency as human resonance, essentially. So that's what you're doing. You're resetting your whole body. And then when you go back into society, you'll notice that, you know, he was saying you won't be able to turn your music up loud because it'll just completely overwhelm you, because your nervous system's essentially been reset.
Yeah, a nervous system reset is 100% a fantastic advice, because that's exactly what you want to do. And fasting, exactly that. Like the gut resets itself. And a lot of us, well, whether we know it or not, suffer from leaky gut. And that's one of the main journeys I went through, because gluten being bad and then being allergic to it, but still continuing to eat it for so many years wrecked my system. So I needed to completely rehaul my system, and I have come a ton of a long way. So I'm like pretty good. I'm probably even like better than the standard human with how I feel physically, but I want perfection, like complete perfection. I don't want aches and pains or headaches ever. And it's really like damped down thanks to things like fasting and getting rid of gluten. But I like what you said there about the Schumann resonance, because I'm getting into that lately I'm really trying to dive into the quantum way of things, to speak quantumly, as I feel like it's the bridge between everything. And that's
You've
We
gone.
lost you.
The bridge between everything and quantum. We'll remember.
Yes.
That's
We're
it.
here,
We're everything in quantum. She'll probably be able to hear us still. She'll be laughing at us. Oh, she's back. There we go.
Yeah.
She can hear us.
I don't know where I cut out there, so I'll just leave it at that, because I was probably repeating myself. But we have a viewer here who suggested mushrooms, and that's fantastic. And they're good for you, psychedelic or not. Like there's reishi and lion's mane and cordy. There's tons of them, and usually I'll have them in my water, because you can't take enough mushrooms. Like they're fantastic. One time I did, when I was really trying to be healthy, when I first moved in here about 5 years ago, I made myself, I might have told the story for, but a huge bowl of just mushrooms with some other stuff with it, maybe sauerkraut. And I ate it all. And I sat there and I was trying not to, but like maybe 20 minutes later, I threw it all up. And I kind of quit it with the mushrooms in such an intense degree because I overdid it. You can't only eat mushrooms. They are hard on the digestive system, but they are fantastic for so many things, especially brain health. And that's also why you want to fix your gut and why we need so much cheap dopamine, because our guts are the third brain, the heart being the other one. Because when your guts are in disharmony, that's the parasites that they are feeding you bad thoughts. They're telling you to eat sugar. They're telling you to sit down and do nothing. They're giving you inflammation. They're giving you headaches. They're giving you like cognitive dissonance in the fact that it's really hard to think and just process your own thoughts. So I want to move on next. Let's go to Kyla. And I know you were talking about your healthy muffins, but have you ever fasted, or what's your thoughts on fasting and just the gut in general when it's in regards to our hormones?
I'm pretty much on the same page as everybody else. Like it's something that I want to do, but because of having outside commitments at this particular time, I haven't really had the opportunity. But with that said, intermittent fasting has been a thing my whole life. There was a period where I was medicating with food. I was up to about 260 pounds. But then that's when I decided, and it's interesting, you know, like how David was talking about his health journey. Mine very similar. I just got fed up. I was tired of you know, like just feeling scattered, and I was also tired of the size that I was. And so one of the things I did on my journey, and I'm just going to preface this with, this is not health advice, this is my journey, and if anybody wants to do research or has questions or whatever, anyway, I went and I did keto. And what that did, and I don't do it now, I just did it when I was, you know, talking about get in, get out. That's what this was. I started it in, I would say probably about May of 2018. And I got to where I was content with myself. Around the time I met Dawn, I was only doing it for about 3 months. But what that did was that, made me aware of what I was eating, and it showed me where my problem areas were, and it was basically like eliminating, you know, like process of elimination. And part of the process was intermittent fasting. And that was easy for me because I'm also, when I get busy, the last thing I want to do is eat. I just don't pay attention. It's like, no, I don't have time for this. And so the intermittent fasting thing for me is it's not it's already part of my lifestyle. I never even really tried.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Keto. I'm pro keto. That's all I have to say on that. I'm pro keto, but it's hard to stay on in this world. But I believe in the science behind it, and I believe I don't know if it's like a balanced lifestyle forever, but if you have problems, it will fix it. And then Dawn, I want to take it to you. Have you ever fasted? What's your thoughts on fasting? And do you think it helps with endorphins?
I can see where it would help with endorphins. I have done one for 24 hours. Again, I'm back in my 9 to 5 life, so that was about as far as I could go because I drive for a living and nobody wants a septic truck driver fainting behind the wheel. But I did try it and actually felt a lot better. But one of the things you touched on earlier was the parasites as well. And her and I were both noticing that we were getting a different kind of hunger where you basically went from hungry to instantaneously nauseous. And it's like, I don't remember ever feeling this type of hunger without being hungry for days before, but this would hit you in the morning or right around lunchtime. And I'm like, there's something making me feel this way. So that is when I did the cleanse, and we started doing parasite cleanses as well, right? And one of the most rudimentary but most effective is probably clove water, right? You take about 10 cloves, boil it in water, let it steep, right? The next day, and since then, I have not had that nauseous, sickening hunger. I still get hungry just like everybody else, but I no longer feel like I'm going to be sick instantly because I had so many parasites, and I'm damn near sure of it because I was a sugar junkie for a lot of my life.
Yeah.
I had so many parasites that I was instantly nauseous when I wouldn't feed it because you got to think about it. They're tiny little worms squiggling in around you. When they're hungry, it's like a pack of wild animals in your stomach. Going, well, of course I felt sick. It was a disgusting display going on in my gut, right? But as soon as I started hitting the clove water and did 24 hours, I haven't had that feeling since.
Yeah, you can bang them out with a fast. And clove, yeah, what I do with clove, I take coconut oil because I have the essential oil, and you can get like burns from that because I used to use it on my teeth without diluting it. Oops. So I take coconut oil and then I put like 3 drops in, and then I fold it in the coconut oil so it's not going to bare touch me. And then I'll take that because just taking solid coconut oil is good for you too. And that's how I get clove in because agreed, I was a huge sugar addict, huge. And I still even like minorly struggle with it, but only like, but it's not like fruit. Cause I've even like, cause that's why keto has always been a problem for me. Cause you're not even supposed to eat fruit, but I always do want something sweet. And whether it's fruit or even just dark chocolate, like I still have a sweet tooth. But I've taken it, scaled it way back. Cause like once upon a time I lived on Skittles and ketchup chips when I was a teenager. Like I had a horrible diet. And I don't know, like I survived because I was a teenager, but like you go into your mid-20s and all of a sudden you start dying and you learn to start changing your ways. And I'm still undoing what I did in those early 20s teenage years when I, started because my parents didn't do this. It was as soon as I got a job and started having my own money and then, eating how I pleased. But David, let's take it to you. What's your thoughts on fasting? Has it helped? Have you tried it? And do you believe it can give us positive endorphins?
I mean, it seems to work for some people. I mean, so short answer is probably like pretty much the same as Kirsten, but longer answer is, there was there was one time like years ago, like I mean, I was working at Microsoft in the office and I still loved it. That's how long ago it was. And I think so. My wife and I decided to do something called the Master Cleanse, which like minimum is a 10-day fast where you're basically just drinking like, I don't know, a gallon of lemon water every day or something. And it's horrible. but so I think we started it on Monday, and by Wednesday, Wednesday afternoon, they were giving, they had birthday cake for all the people that had birthdays that month at the office. And and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I was like really starting to feel depressed because it's like, so like I literally don't get to eat anything like for 8 more days. Like I was really feeling depressed. Like, wow, how does anyone do this? And then I saw people with their cake, and I'm like, I'm gonna have some cake. And I swear that was some of the best cake I've ever had. But
Did you reset your dopamine, David?
I guess so. But so that's to say I don't really try much long-term fasting. A big reason now being that, like, I am into bodybuilding, so if you're not eating like protein at the very least, you're going to lose your energy to be able to do that pretty fast. But intermittent fasting, sure, especially like if I'm planning to engage in some kind of shamanic ceremony or something, I typically will at least go light on the eating if I know I'm going to be engaging in that. Or I generally just try to go with what my body is telling me. I don't have like a rigid eating schedule, like, oh, I got to eat breakfast, I got to eat lunch, I got to eat dinner. Usually like I'll get up, I'll have some kefir in the morning to get some protein and get some like healthy bacteria in my gut and whatnot. Get ready for the gym, go to the gym, have a protein shake, have some eggs or something, and then, you know, I may not like, and that'll be pretty much everything that I consume for the day until dinner time. Sometimes I'll eat like a sandwich or something in the afternoon if I'm hungry, but sometimes I don't. And I basically just try to listen to my body and let my body tell me if I need food or not. And if it doesn't, then I don't. And even if it is like mealtime, if I'm not feeling it, I'm just like, yeah, I don't really think I'm gonna eat right now because my body doesn't seem like it needs it. And that seems to work better for me, to just kind of try to stay in tune with what my body's telling me and just go with that.
Yeah, the 100%. And that's basically what I do now, especially because as a female, there's certain times of the month it's easy not to eat. But then there's other times of the month where you're craving chocolate uncontrollably. So you kind of have to honor that, or because you never want, I don't know, it's hard because you can be like you can be a bit spoiled of the self. And like there's different times where like you know it's gonna do something to you that's like maybe not good to deny yourself it in that moment. And then there's other times where it's like, no, you know you can handle it and you might still be a little sad. It's like with children, right? You don't want them to have or you don't want to allow a tantrum, but you also don't want to create a trauma. And it's even like that with policing ourselves, because we are like three different beings. And the body can be the more immature part, you know, like the body can be the part that can get addicted to stuff, and that you really want to kind of police it, but with gentle care. And so the point of fasting, when it comes to driving, that's one thing I would advise people. You are a bit like drunk-ish when you're fasting. So driving for me, yeah, that's a concern. So I would do it on days where like my husband be off so he could take the kids to school, or I wouldn't need to drive because it's sketchy.
Affects your sleep as well, doesn't it? She's gone.
Yes.
It does it. So, and I find as well, like the third day is the worst. You get to day 3 and you're like, oh my God, I want to take down a full hippopotamus and have it with some mayonnaise. That could just be me though, you know.
No, one thing I would like to add.
I find too that I'm a rebel. So if anybody tells me you can't do this, that's the first thing I'm going to do. And when I tell myself you can't do this, then by God, I am going to do it at some point. So I've learned to say to myself, well, tomorrow you can do this, but today we'll do it this way. How about? And so I've kind of learned to how to talk to myself so that I don't go into rebel mode, because I'm really susceptible to that. I'm just not.
It's like denial as well, isn't it? When you deny yourself something, you know, you're not allowed it. You're like, oh, I really want it now.
Yeah.
You might not even wanted it. It's like,
Well,
go on, what were you saying?
That is kind of similar energy to what I was thinking as well, because like in the bodybuilding community, you know, even when people are on like super strict diets, which you know, we still have the concept of a cheat day, and it's considered an essential part of the regimen. It's not optional. Like if you don't do it, you're setting yourself up for failure, because for one thing, your body actually does need that stuff. It just doesn't need as much as you're giving it. So if you completely like cut out chocolate and sugar and all that stuff, I mean, yeah, we don't need a lot of it, but you need some. I mean, you know, especially like Diana, if you love chocolate, well, there's probably a reason, you know. So
Magnesium deficient.
What's that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know,
And you're right.
it's a good
You're
practice. Yeah, it's a good practice to just kind of like have a schedule for yourself where like, yeah, maybe, you know, and everyone's cadence is different, but you know, maybe Monday through Friday, I don't eat chocolate and sweets and all that stuff, and I'm real disciplined. But you know, Friday night or Saturday, I'm gonna have the biggest bar of chocolate that I can find, or whatever it is, and just not care, and just, you know, eat. I mean, not frivolously, but just eat something that you enjoy without like worrying about it.
That's a really good point, though, David. It's doing it without guilt. So you're creating a safe space to have an indulgence, and you're doing it without shame, because it's the shame, really, isn't it, that gets you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. And that's a really good point, David. And I do that too. Like I have cheat, like I'll say, well, it's Saturday, so I can eat whatever I want. I have learned that refined sugar is not good, but I, like you, Diana, I have a real sweet tooth. So when I quit refined sugar, and I had to quit refined sugar because I was, well, because of my health. So when I quit refined sugar, I found though that I could eat fruit, I can eat honey, I can eat anything. So I basically I feed my sweet tooth with fruit, dates especially salmon. I love the dates.
Fucking
But
love
and
dates.
it's yeah,
Putting it out there.
right. I mean, they're just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so I think that's a really good point. If you're too strict with yourself, then you're going to be more inclined to cheat. So just allow yourself to do that, but don't do it all the time. That's
Oh
the
yeah,
thing.
Swiss chocolate.
Yeah, Swiss chocolate. Oh my gosh, love it.
Yeah, I used to get my chocolate from England, not actually from England, but like they'd have the international section, and I love the English Cadbury, and that was what
It's
I'd go.
to do with the amount of oil in it, I think, because they put more
Yeah.
oil in chocolate that's abroad. They've
Yep.
changed it now.
Yeah.
Shit. Sorry, I'm swearing.
No, that's okay.
It's okay. Now I hate Hershey's chocolate. So if I'm going to have, like, if I'm going to really indulge myself, I will find the very best thing to indulge myself with. I'm going to get really, really nice chocolate. Or like, for instance, my rule about baked goods with sugar in them is if my mom made it, I'm having some. Otherwise, I'm not, because my mom is the best baker in the world. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have some of that, but I won't have it. You know, if you just give me some crappy cupcake from the corner, you know, from the from the Quick Trip, I'm not eating that. So
No chemical frosting for Kirsten.
that's
Yeah, and it's
right.
like Dawn, like because Kyla bakes for Dawn, and he gets to have that homemade goodness. And even Steven talks about his wife baking for him all the time. My kids don't like my baking. I do bake, but again, like I said at the beginning, I don't follow recipes. I don't mind it because I always throw chocolate in there, and it's gluten free, and I don't use sugar, but I'll use honey, things like honey and maple syrup. I'll use that, so the kids won't eat it, and I want that projector appreciation for my baking.
Your
Oh, yeah, that sounds
baked
pretty
goods
good to
sound
me.
amazing, Kayla, sorry. What do you bake?
Mostly muffins. That's the weekly thing. I am just getting into sourdough, which I will send out props to Steven's wife, Melissa. She's been fanning those flames. And then the other big one is I have a chocolate cake recipe. It was passed down through the family. It's called it's Aunt Lizzie's chocolate cake, which ironically they talked about it, but they never made it. So I never actually had Aunt Lizzie's chocolate cake until I inherited my granny girl's cookbook. And on a side note, Dawn's hire likes it. Gabriel, there's been times where he gets a little excited about.
I was telling Diana about this yesterday when that aspect of my hire pops in. I'm very articulate. I'm sure all of you have heard me speak, and I'm not trying to be egotistical. But when he kicks in, he actually has a stutter, right? And you can tell when I've shifted to that aspect of my consciousness because I actually start to stutter. And it's funny, he gets very, very excited and has a bit of a stutter when it comes to chocolate cake. So she's
Yes,
it's
he
very
gets to
strange.
taste it. He's like, yes, we're going back into the 3D realm. Give me some of that chocolate cake.
Oh, and speaking of Steven, him and I talk a fair bit throughout the day while we're doing our 9 to 5s. And I was telling him, her and I indulged the one night and we went to the store and just ass load of junk food. I was telling him I had an actual hangover. Like, I was an alcoholic for many years. I know what a hangover feels like. I had a junk food hangover driving at work the next day. Like, just the ass taste in my mouth, the sugar, the dehydration, that, oh my God, why did I do that? The only thing I didn't do was take some terrible woman home from the bar. Like, I felt like crap, right? And I was like, okay, I'm over that. Like, It
I mean, I'm
was
glad
just
you had that
terrible.
good decision. You do get high. It's the sugar thing. It's the sugar again. It's horrendous, isn't it? I don't think actual
It
proper
is.
sugar is bad for you though, because you can get a sugar and it's like you eat it, don't you? It's like a big stick, like proper. But do you know, it's not It's a refined. Anything that's refined.
Yeah,
It's
it's
full of-
it's the refined sugar that really does it.
It's the refined stuff. Whole cane sugar is actually good for you. Like if you get the cane, just the sugar that's made straight from the cane without all that extra crap. But yeah, that's the thing. And once you stop eating that kind of stuff, like Don said, if you eat it, you can tell. It's like, oh my gosh. And that actually is really a good deterrent when you realize how bad you feel. Like David was talking about, when you're in that comfort zone of feeling bad, you don't realize how bad those things make you feel. But boy, quit them for a little while and you'll realize how bad they actually are.
Yeah, as a recovering junk food addict, definitely. I can attest to that, because I mean, the thing is, you get in these cycles, and it's an addiction. Going back to dopamine, food can be an addiction. It's sort of the crap they put in it. I mean, I was telling Kirsten the other day, like I briefly lived with a friend, and I lived on fish finger sandwiches in my early 20s, and she was just like, "You can't eat fish finger sandwiches every day." I was like, "Well, why?" I had no idea. I was full of seed oils, full of processed foods, nitrates in the meat, all of that stuff. And I'm on like a journey, and I've talked about it before, but obviously the fibro, the chronic fatigue, the PUTS, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's definitely a spiritual element and a trauma element to it, but the food keeps you stuck in those like cycles. Do you know what I mean? Those trauma cycles as well. It's almost like, if I eat, we're going back to bread, the glyphosate in the bread, it's the glyphosate in the flour, isn't it, basically? Half the time it isn't even gluten intolerance, it's the chemicals. And they were saying that even if we stop using glyphosate now, it'd take like 30 years or something to completely reset it all, just to completely get out the food chain, because it's that endemic. So this is the thing. And then you start to cut all that back. And that's why I was looking at carnivore. Because I know I have done it before, and it's great, but it's really hard to sustain. But when you get past a certain point, you lose the cravings completely. You don't want the sugar, and then I can't even really eat sweet stuff now. I mean, I've been doing a lot of healing and stuff as well, which obviously it kind of reprograms you. I've spoken to Kirsten about this. So what I'm in the process of doing now is, but it's habitual eating. So I eat the food and I'm like, this is absolute dog poo. I don't want to eat that. But in my head, I've still got that program running. I'm like, I'm going to eat a piece of cheesecake. There was times in the past, and I'd have like a complete meltdown. I'd sit on my kitchen floor or whatever, on my thingy floor. I'd be crying, going, oh, into a full chocolate cake. It's been known, honestly. I mean, I'd leave a few crumbs, so I wouldn't eat it all, but So that's the thing. It all goes down to addiction, isn't it? If you're getting dopamine from a big fat chocolate cake, or you're getting it from marijuana or whatever you're on about, do you know what I mean? It's all seeking this behavior, but when you get down to the root of it, it's actually trauma and soul loss that it's all linked into, really.
Yeah,
sorry, that was
food
a bit
is
of a
the
waffle.
hardest.
Went
No, it's
off
good
on one.
because food is the hardest thing to kick, because it's in us for survival. We have this long talk about trauma. We have many lifetimes where we starve to death, and the human being in general, in part of our collective consciousness, there's still humans starving to death. So it's actually in us in so many layers: personal, collective consciousness, ancestral trauma. It exists in so many layers, not to mention the body actually needs to eat. So you can mind wise make excuses. Oh, I need food, I need this, but the hangovers are so real. It's true.
Yeah.
Like the more it's sometimes like I get, not now, I've been good for a while, but there would be points where I used to regret healing myself with food because it made me incapable of eating the bad stuff. So if I ever wanted to cheat, I wouldn't, and I never even cheated with gluten. Like when I went off gluten, I went off gluten because that was to save my life. But I would still cheat with sugar and stuff like that. But like, or cheesecake. And oh my God, ouch. Like the amount, like I'm to the point now where if I'm still eating, like I had these from the butcher turkey burgers that I've been eating, but I've been noticing I've been getting, like, I was talking to Sam about it this morning, like I've been getting sick again, like the fibromyalgia, minor headaches and body aches. And I'm like, oh my God, these burgers are probably toxic. And I just trusted them because they're from this good butcher, which usually everything's good, but usually we're getting beef. But I stopped eating, which I might have to reverse. So I was eating these turkey burgers and like with an organic gluten-free bun. So you'd think that's good, but the symptoms started up again. So it's like the more you better your system, the more sensitive your system gets, and the more you just.
Yeah.
I actually dig what she's saying because that's been happening a lot. Like I was saying, Stephen, I have a favorite restaurant here in town, and burger and fries, burger and fries. The one day I ate the fries and was just like 20 minutes later in the washroom sick and not feeling well. So the next time I just ordered the burger, and sure enough, it was what the fries were cooked in. So
The oils.
it is getting more sensitive.
They're evil, the oils as well, aren't they? They're absolutely evil.
They really are.
Yeah.
They really are. Yeah. And
Something I wanted
you
to
get
say
more
on
and
that.
more sensitive as you especially like you throw all that stuff out of your diet and you become really sensitive to it when you eat it. So yeah, I find now if I have more than a small amount of refined sugar, I get a horrific migraine almost immediately. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love all comments in chat. They're just like, try this. They're all going to go away going, oh God, I'm so hungry.
We all need
Go
to
on,
move
Tom,
to
what were you
Switzerland.
saying? You were starting to say
Healthy
something.
food. I was saying we all need to move to Switzerland so we can have some healthier food. Although you in England should be a lot better. I ate in Canada, and I don't know if you thought this as well, Dawn.
Oh, geez.
Well, I don't know.
What were you saying, Don? You were going to say something a minute ago.
Oh, what I was going to say is something a guest told me is if you crave anything that's not natural of this earth, you have a type of addiction. You are addicted to a chemical in the product that you are craving, right? Because if you're not craving something that wasn't grown or born here, then it's not a craving. If it's McDonald's, that's not real food, and we all damn well know it. You're craving the chemical. If it's Dairy Queen, you're craving the chemical. If it's something from the corner store, you're craving the chemical. You're not craving food. Right? And that's how bare bones I've had to strip my diet to, right? My lunch now is like jerk chicken and mixed nuts, some fruits and vegetables. I've had to strip my diet because I'm sure, I don't know if you guys know, I almost died in November because of how I was treating my body. I ended up giving myself peritonitis because I caused myself to have a gallbladder leak because I was horrible to my health, which caused a cardiac incident. So like it can get that serious that quick if you're giving into your food addictions. Like I damn near died, right?
That was your massive wake up call, wasn't it? Yeah. That was the alarm bell for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Don, I was just agreeing with you and I talked over you today. Go on, your food addiction.
It was really a slap in the head.
Yeah, it's hard. And what I was saying before I cut out, I don't know if you guys heard, but like, I don't know if you thought this, Dawn and Kyla, but I used to think Canada was good. I used to think we had good food. I used to think, because England, you guys have better stuff. And as our person from Switzerland is saying, they have good stuff. Like you guys have way better regulations. Like you guys aren't poisoned. But then I found out during my awakening that no, Canada is pretty much just as poisoned as America, because not just because our food is American, but we copycat America. It's funny. They pretend like they don't want to be copies America already anyways. Like we're copycats. Everything we do, we copy them for a large degree. And they talk about how that we're from England, but no, we copy America. And so our food is extremely toxic, except for our milk apparently is the one, and our eggs are the one thing that like that's kept somewhat pure, except raw milk here is illegal. So where in America you can, like in America, they have the both. They have way worse, but you can find way better if you're in the right areas.
You guys also have the good. You guys also have the good Kit Kat bars, though.
Oh, we have the good Kit Kat bars.
Yeah.
Are they not English? Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I've been wanting to move to England forever.
I'm commandeering that. Yeah.
In regards to the difference,
and in America, you can get raw milk, but you can't get it. Like you have to like I have several people in my area who sell raw milk, but they can't advertise it and they can't sell it at the farmer's market. So you can talk to them at the farmer's market, but you actually have to go to their house to buy the raw milk. And then you're not supposed to really tell, anyone else unless they want to buy it. It's kind of like buying weed used to be here. You're like, where's the
But-
raw milk?
They've legalized weeds, but you've got to go and so what do they do? You go to the dispensary for your weeds, and then there's a guy on the street corner going, opening his trench coat, pulling out some more milk. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, no, I will say
That's
that's
what I'm
one
telling
area.
you. This is the ridiculous I'm sorry, I said fuck. This is the ridiculous society that we live in at this moment. It's like, well, and I mean, outlawing marijuana was also ridiculous because it's a plant. It grows naturally.
Well, you know why they
It's
did
like,
that,
you
right?
should be
Oh,
able
yeah.
to outlaw raw milk or plants or any of that stuff. It's insane. It's
Go on,
just
David. Why did they
flat-
outlaw it? It is
Well,
insane, person. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, no. First of all, I just want to say raw milk here in Florida, super easy to buy. There are stores like just right in the middle of town. You just walk in and they have it right there in the cooler. You just pick it up and buy it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It'll take like half your paycheck, but at least it's there. So
Well, that's good. See, in
yeah.
Oklahoma, you can't just go buy it. But, I will say it doesn't take half your paycheck when you just drive up the road to somebody's farm and say, hey, sell me some raw
Yeah.
milk. It's not that expensive. So, in fact,
Yeah.
it's cheaper to buy raw milk and fresh eggs here than it is to go to the grocery store because
Interesting.
there's all kinds of farmers that are selling those things. The same eggs that I buy at the grocery store it's like $8 I can get for $4 at the farmer's market. Actually, better eggs I can get for $4 at the farmer's market as opposed to paying $8 at the grocery store for crappy eggs. So it's just
Oh, well, see, raw milk, I mean, you can get it, but it's usually like $12 or $13 a gallon minimum. So it's like, oh, well, maybe when I'm rich, I can have some raw milk. But but for right now, it's like, I think I'll just stick with organic milk.
We can get it in
raw
the
milk
UK.
is the best. I thought I
It
didn't
is.
like milk until I tried raw milk and I was like, oh, I do like milk. I just hate this crap at the
Oh.
grocery store. But I can get half a gallon of raw milk for like $3. So, it's
Wow.
really, yeah.
Good. I mean, we've got to drive out. It's a bit like you guys. They can't sell it in supermarkets, can't advertise it. There are specialist farms that you can go to, but they've got to do all these kind of really stringent checks just to make sure there's no bacterial infections or anything on the cows, which is fine. I think that was the issue. Like when you legalize raw milk, are they going to scrap the standards? Because that's the thing, it's not being pasteurized or anything, is it? And you don't want people, they don't want to be feeding the cows antibiotics to stop them getting infected. And it's just like the welfare of the animal, isn't it? So smaller at scale places are better because the better animal welfare, not full of antibiotics and crap. They're not continually milking the cow with all the pus and stuff because obviously it's a lactating animal, isn't it? They're not
That's why
meant
they
to
invented
feed.
chocolate milk. That's why chocolate milk was invented, to hide the blood.
Oh, give over.
Oh.
Really?
Wow.
Have some of this lovely bloody, actual bloody pussy chocolate. Oh, sorry. So yeah, but when I've been before, there's police that go there. They go to the farm, they harass the farmer. Yeah, it's bad. They don't want it, do they? They don't want you to do that. Go on, sorry, my love.
No, they don't. They don't. They're trying to outlaw anything that allows you to grow your own food.
Yes. Yeah. Dawn, you talked yesterday about building a house. Was that just like a dream plan? Or did you guys actually play? Because my brother was talking about similar in Alberta. And is the whole plan to have a farm? Because I think that's the end game. That's the fix is like what Sam was saying, micro farms. We all do a little bit and share.
That is literally what her and I are in the process of manifesting, why she's actually starting a booth at the farmer's market, which you guys were just talking about. We're literally, right now, I have a fairly well-paying job, albeit disgusting. So that's kind of changed our position in this current situation. We're waiting on the lawsuit for her collision, which is going to help immensely. But right now, she's just going to probably step away from what she's doing to start redirecting, to start pulling us towards that farmers market, having our own farm, having our own homestead life, right? Because that is the end goal. And it's kind of funny. Lee is otherwise known to people who know my chat. That's Cheech. He's a very dear friend of mine. And once he gets his lungs, he's actually coming out here too, right? We're actually going to be starting a small self-sustaining habitat for our families between the two families. Like, he has a lot of knowledge in horticulture. I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to like actually building a house, being able to put plumbing in. The only thing I legally am not qualified to do is what Stephen does, is the electricity. I can run all the lines and hook them up. I just have to have an electrician come and go, yep, he knows what he's doing, click, right? But I'm going to be building our house. We're going to start from the ground up, basically, like house, chickens, and a garden, and move up and move up. She'll be getting her wool from the natural source. Like, we're eliminating the costs. The sheep will eat the grass, so we don't have to maintain the property. Like, it really is going to be cyclical, and that is our end game. Like, we're not going to, at one point, and I think this is why we got pushback, is I was like, as soon as this comes through, we're done on the internet. And the universe just kind of went, wait, pump the brakes. You're what? And nothing else happened. Right?
I've got a
and
message
then when
for you.
when I
I was just gonna
started
say
saying, I
when
was
you-
like, I won't walk away from the internet. I won't walk away from sharing the message. And it's probably going to transition into how we're sustaining a new, healthier life outside of the mainstream construct, right? And that's what we'll end up sharing. I'll still do some shows, but that's probably going to be the bulk of our content once we get there, is, you know, natural source cooking, her working with wool, me, you know, it's all going to be one big project, and it's to show other people you can do it.
That's so
That was the
awesome.
message.
That's what I want to do too. And I have the place. I have the place to do it, but I don't have the help.
That's what I
I
need my
know.
children to get older, because I have the same thing. Projectors, no energy. I need my kids to age up so they can do it. But I'll buy it.
That's
We
a
just
good
have
plan.
to do the work. Okay, well, beautiful lull
Sam,
there.
you said
As
you had a
we're coming up to the 1.5 hour point, I think we ended on the answer there, because that I've done tons of research, and my dream life is traveling the world just continuously forever. And maybe I'll get that when they're older, because but the only answer food problems and all the things we discussed today is micro farming and just all having our own farms, because sovereign discernment, how do we achieve that? By being sovereign and discerning, and that's taking care of ourselves. So you've already done a huge chunk of that, Kirsten, and Dawn having the capability to actually be able to build that. And then Sam, maybe one day you'll get to move and be with Kirsten, and you guys can do it together and just, you know, create that new world. And together we birth it individually in our own unique way, but we do it together in a way that where we can all just trade together, because that way we don't have to grow everything we need. And we just permaculture, exactly. Yeah, permaculture is the way to go, because it limits the work, really. Like you were talking about the sheep eating the grass. That's part of like a permaculture system, where you have the things take care of the other things. Like, there's ways you can. Rudolf Steiner teaches about agriculture. So if you want to know how to do it and grow with the moon and grow with the planets, like, he teaches that, because you can plant certain plants beside each other. I think like mint beside tomatoes, something like that will stop the bugs from getting the tomatoes. Like, and just tons of tips and tricks like that to just get us moving forward without pesticides. And hopefully that'll give us the dopamine we need. And we'll advance society. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Let's go through the line backwards. Let's start with David, and just say your last final thoughts on today's topic and what you want people to be left with.
Well, I think actually in line with what you were just talking about, I'm actually gonna name drop my brother Andrew here a little bit, because he's got a channel of his own called Future Gardens. And what he actually does, he just has like a tiny little house with a tiny yard here in Port Richey, Florida, and he's turned his entire yard into like basically his own food forest. He's always growing some kind of crazy fruit tree or bush. Every time I go over there, he's like, "Oh, I ripped up that other tree, and now I've got a new one." He grows cane sugar, he grows soursop, mulberries, and he builds like these hydroponic gardening systems that like his vision is to make this something that he can like repackage and sell to other people so that they can do it in their own backyard. And he's building a monitoring system, so there's a technological component, so like it can help you make sure that your plants are getting enough water. I actually contributed a bit to that myself. I helped get that project started. But anyway, so yeah, check that out, because that's a vision that he has. And
Like this with an S, Future Gardens.
I think so. I think so. Certainly, if you look for that, it'll come up. But I can find it and paste it somewhere after the meeting. But anyway, I'll leave you with that.
Perfect. And Sam.
I mean, I think we've covered quite a lot of it, really, haven't we? I think the big thing about dopamine is it goes in increments, and once we've had a little bit, we want more and more and more. So just looking at where we're getting those quick addictions, things like social media, food, all that kind of like quick instant gratification, and looking at our kind of patterns and addictions, and the best way to kind of deal with that is to scale back and to do the healing, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And Dawn, and then Spinja.
I think my most simplest advice is create your own dopamine through being as true to your authentic self as you can, by being excited about what you're doing and what you're creating in this reality, because that is our goal here. We are creator beings, and that's what's supposed to be stimulating us, and we're supposed to want more and more of that sensation. And on just a side note, this is something I know Stephen would throw in: create your own DMT through breathwork and meditation.
And the best advice I can give, like if you're working through stuff and you're having a hard time, like for me, I got to the point, like we've all been victims at some point or another, and and it goes back to like being tired of being a victim. There have been times where I've taken my pain and turned it around almost as a middle finger. And even that, like, oh, you said I can't do it, well, just watch me. Like when I went back to school, like when I took fiber arts, like I was rock bottom. Like there was no, like the response was, well, what are you going to do with that? It's like, I don't know, but I'm at rock bottom. I can't go any lower. And look what's happening now.
Now it's going to buy a farm.
Mm-hmm. Well put. Yeah, there is a certain extra yay about, sticking it to them. And Kirsten.
Yeah. Well, I would say move, get your movement in, and also recognize, I mean, what works for one person isn't going to work for the next. So just like Dawn said, be authentic and find what works for you, because it's not going to look exactly the same as it does for anyone else. And that's okay. I think a lot of times we get caught up and we say, oh, well, that person's doing that and it must be the right thing. But I think that you really have to find what really works for you. And hemp, and Kriya Yoga, definitely breath work, meditation, yoga asana. But if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. Find what works for you.
Yes, 100%. And mine thing is inspired by what Dawn said, and that's being in the now. Because if you're in the now, that's where joy and bliss presents itself to you. Because the now space, it's such a total awareness. It's literally like a frequency shift where all of a sudden everything is so much clearer, and something that's horrible can now seem beautiful, because when you're so perfectly in the now, it's just automatically flooding your systems with endorphins and serotonin and dopamine. And maybe that's what we can unpack next time, is getting into that now for those hormones. But good time to exit. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. I appreciate our big panel for today. And thank you so much, audience, for being here. And we will see you all next time. Goodbye for now.